Lawmakers are demanding answers on the origins of COVID-19. They're also working to make sure we do not repeat history by following the science and the money. Our next guest is calling out the NIH with this month's Squeal Award for continuing to fund nonprofit EcoHealth Alliance, an organization which funneled U.S. taxpayer dollars into the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Here with more is Republican Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, along with Justin Goodman from the White Coast Waste Project. Good morning to both of you. So, Senator, we follow the science, we follow the money, and so therefore we follow the trail back to the Wuhan lab from EcoHealth Alliance. As this money was going from NIH to EcoHealth to Wuhan, what exactly took place? What federal laws were skirted? Why is this such a big deal beyond us knowing where the coronavirus originated?
Yes, well, thank you, Will. And thanks to Justin Goodman and the White Coat Waste Project, a lot of this has been uncovered. And what we discovered was that through the NIH, a grant was given to EcoHealth Alliance. Through that grant, we know that a number of dangerous coronavirus studies were being done at the Wuhan Institute of Virology with American taxpayer dollars. Now, according to federal law, there are questions that have to be answered. EcoHealth Alliance is required to report how those dollars are being spent. The NIH has asked EcoHealth Alliance to provide that information, and EcoHealth has basically said, no, we're not going to tell you what we were doing with American taxpayer dollars. So in response to that, we've pushed the Office of Inspector General at Health and Human Services to demand answers and have that information provided.
Justin, Dr. Fauci, we've talked about this throughout the morning. Dr. Fauci, from the very beginning, was at the least skeptical that this could have come from a lab. He gave it like a long shots type of scenario. So now that we look at this potential money trail and science trail, what does that tell us about Dr. Fauci and the kind of things he said over the past year? You would think a conflict of interest is revealed at the very least.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, the truth is that Anthony Fauci and other public officials and scientists really abused their authority by pouring cold water on the lab leak from the very beginning, because they had a lot to lose if they were responsible for potentially funding the dangerous coronavirus experiments on animals that caused the pandemic. The other is purely political. The other reason that they poured cold water on this is purely political, and that's Dr. Fauci and others simply didn't want to give credence to anything Republicans and Donald Trump were saying, even if they were right.
You know, I think what you're both pointing to when it comes to federal law and this conflict of interest is a potential accountability issue here for everyone in our government when it comes to the true story here. But let me ask you this question. Before we as a society move to accountability, what would we have done differently? I'm going to ask you both this. So, Justin, I'll start with you. If we had honesty and real sober-mindedness when it came to the origins of the coronavirus back in the spring, what, if anything, might we have done differently as a country?
Well, we should have been investigating the lab leak from the beginning. The truth is we've known for years, or we should have known for years, and if Senator Ernst's laws were in place a couple years ago, we could have known that taxpayer dollars were being quietly funneled to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and we could have been asking questions about that. Instead, EcoHealth Alliance, for years with impunity, has been violating federal law, failing to disclose that it was sending money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, defying questions from Congress, and ultimately allowing that money to be secretly funneled to a lab that does not have our best interests in mind and potentially cause this pandemic that's killed over 3 million people worldwide and 600,000 in the United States alone.
Senator, we can make changes for the future. We can ask for accountability for the past. But is there something, if information had been true and honest, is there something we could have done differently that would have made the pandemic play out differently over the past year?
Well, absolutely. I think if my Cost Act and my Stop Act had been in place, we could have cut off federal funding to EcoHealth Alliance and those projects that were underway. My Stop Act would do exactly that. It would prevent any government funding then to going to a group like EcoHealth Alliance if they refuse to answer questions about how those dollars are being spent. So if we could have cut the funding off much sooner, perhaps, we don't know because we haven't been able to get the documentation through EcoHealth Alliance, but perhaps we could have stopped some of our taxpayer dollars from contributing to what obviously could have been a very, very bad experimentation that led to this global pandemic. So a lot of answers are very unclear. We need transparency, and that's what my act does.
And obviously, whether or not you're talking about the WHO, the CDC, or Dr. Anthony Fauci, we might have been able to give them a little more faith in every other instruction they gave us over the past year. All right, Senator Joni Ernst and Justin Goodman, thank you for being with us this morning.